majority of the bikes I feel come in the Grand Touring edition. I don't know why the ADV brand is kind of stuck. You remember the first Bajaj Enduro in the 80s? It had come with a KB100 engine, Bajaj KB100. It had come with the expansion chamber exhaust, so at least the exhaust looked like that. The tuning was a bit different, and it looked kick-ass. Yeah.
So today Rustom and me thought that we'll have a bow and a pound, have some crazy conversation, and this is unscripted, so we don't know
Yes.
where it's going to go. So we've picked up the current hot trending topic of ADVs.
Yes.
So correct me if I'm wrong, ADVs are no longer about doing the off-road, doing trails, more about comfort riding.
No, ADVs
carrying
are
some-
more towards Grand Touring and less ADVs, which kind of makes sense because how often will you go and really use the ADV genes of your bike, right? I mean, ADVs are those basically the experts, the Himalayan, the Yezdi, 21-inch wheels, spoke tires, thin front tires, obviously a really thick,
Same with the
chunky
Tiger,
120, 130.
Rally Pro and the GS Adventure and all. But I'm
Yeah.
talking a wide spectrum, like from the
But
experts,
Tiger and all, they actually have the electronics and everything to make it
much more
road
easy.
biased as well. So ADVs, I mean, obviously you won't be able to catch up with the KTMs on the road, these true blue ADVs, but then it's got the best of all. So majority of the bikes I feel come in the Grand Touring edition. I don't know why the ADV brand is kind of stuck on them.
Yeah, like the Versus 650 and the now Trident, that is,
Versus is not-
the Tiger 660 Sport. I mean, 17-inch wheels on an it is not. It doesn't.
It doesn't. Yeah.
19 is somewhat on the safe side. Like even the KTM Adventure
Yeah.
390 and the 250 have 19-inch rims.
Yeah, so the thing
But-
is, obviously, I haven't ridden the Triumph 660, but at least the Versus 650, you see, Kawasaki has actually put an effort to change the suspension settings. It's not like they just put a flaring and it's become an ADV. The suspension can soak up far more bumps than the normal 650. Obviously, it's inverted, it's more capable. And I feel it's the best of both worlds because Indian roads by default are meant for ADV bikes.
We don't have roads. Like there's no smooth tarmac here.
Exactly. You remember the first Bajaj Enduro in the 80s? It had come with the KB100 engine.
Yes.
It was called the Enduro something, if I'm not mistaken. So basically, Bajaj was the first one to bring a proper ADV in the market. I'm not recollecting the name, but when I was in college, I was actually saving up money to purchase that particular bike.
Okay.
It had come with a KB100 engine, Bajaj KB100. It had come with the expansion chamber exhaust, so at least the exhaust looked like that. The tuning was a bit different, and it looked kick-ass. It had come in quite a few Hindi movies as well at that particular point. They had actually started it in the 80s. It did not really run. I think they should have just kept the KB 125 engine in it. It would be far more capable because if you remember those motoring magazines, KB 125 was advertised as the fastest bike off the block. I still remember that. So it had massive initial acceleration in the 90s.
But back then, I mean, even till some years back, these kind of bikes were, I think, too far ahead of its time. Take the Impulse, for example. I mean, such a brilliant bike. I still prefer the Impulse.
Yeah,
to the
we both
Impulse. We both bought it, yeah.
I placed a correspondence with it, just enhanced it,
And
for
he rode
some
my
reason-
bike for the first time at Powai Lake. Most of you know the place. And he was like, look at this bike, can do this. And that's next day.
Yeah,
I
the
get a
first
call
thing
and-
I see him, he's going down steps on the Impulse. I'm like, that's it, I'm sold. Anyways, I was kind of inclined towards off-road bike. So the Impulse then eventually came. Between the Impulse and the KB Enduro,
there was nothing.
you had the Yamahas. I have the Yamaha RXZ, and I've taken it off-roading, and it is fucking light. It is as light as a cycle. It is lighter than the Impulses as well. But again, the Impulse is tunable. I know people personally. This is a guy called Kabir. He's put a 200cc block in his Impulse, and it's crazy.
So that is the excitement when we talk about these bikes. So what is your take on the Yezdi? Will it be better than the Himalayan?
So I've ridden the Yezdi. The problem is this is Yezdi version 1.0. Take it and writing in the next 1 year, the Yezdi version 2.0 will be what the GS 310 is right now. The GS 310 initially, there were a few rough edges. There was a certain vibration issue. The vibration issue is completely cleared off in the BS6 edition. What do you call the Himalayan? Also initially, the BS3 was an absolute disaster. The BS4 was better, but it was a YB engine. The BS6 is the best right now. The Yezdi version 1.0 is like the PS4 version. It is YB after 100 kilometers, and it's kind of a big kind of a big question mark, because your heart wants to go, your brain wants to go with the Yezdi because it's far more capable. It's got a 6-speed gearbox. I've ridden the Perak at 125, not a problem. It is a little YB. But then the refinement, surprisingly, the Royal Enfield is far, far, far better than the Yezdi. And that is extremely surprising.
Mark, what do you say? The Royal Enfield is actually better in refinement.
No. I mean, all the Royal Enfield models right now, the J model for the J engine, it's called the J engine if I'm not mistaken, for the new 350s, for the
Meteor and the classic 350s.
They are 10 times ahead of what the earlier engines were. The 650 has a very good refined engine. The Himalayan's engine has been refined. Suddenly, Royal Enfield is getting quality products out. Obviously, the Himalayan, the chassis is still an issue. But again, that's
Royal Enfield.
That's Royal Enfield. Something is worse. So Yezdi has got everything, but I think this is like the first initial step, which I would still prefer the Yezdi, but I wish they had refined the engine and got it to us. But if you don't mind waiting for 1.5, 2 years, you well as just purchase this bike, because it is capable on the highways. Capability of the Royal Enfield in the city is far better because it's got a long stroke engine. It's not about the capacity, engine capacity, even though it's roughly 70, 80 cc more, but it's about the engine design. A long stroke engine always has a higher torque as compared to a medium stroke engine, what the Yezdi has. So that high end torque, the torque that is generated in the low RPM range is far more helpful in the city as compared to the Yezdi.
Because the gear shifts basically go down, so which is much easier to ride also.
And more feel aata hai. You have that the feel aspect is really there. Not about the MRP, it is about can you maintain it for the next 5-6 years. See, I had a conversation with a friend. This guy really wanted to go with the GS. He's like, it's cheaper, around 30,000-40,000 rupees cheaper. I'm like, you'll be spending far more in the long run maintaining it as opposed to a KTM 390. If you like both the bikes equally, or if you are inclined towards the KTM 390, then you well as go with the KTM 390 Adventure, because maintaining a KTM 390 Adventure is as economical as maintaining my Yamaha RXZ. It is that cheap.
That's an interesting take on it.
Obviously, KTM has done their maths right. They have really invested in the Indian market. And if I'm not mistaken, we all the KTM 390s abroad are manufactured in India and exported, right? So when you have the advantage of having a manufacturer in India, you better utilize it, right?
So at the same time, I mean, like you said, the 390 has done a superb job. The pricing is right. Even the new GS310 is nice.
The new GS310 is amazing. It's a step ahead from the earlier one. It's not YB. It is more affordable. It looks far better. It looks far better since it's got a LED this headlight finally. And I think it's a really good buy as long as you don't mind spending on maintenance. But you got to understand. See, like the Benelli has a maintenance period of every 6,000 kilometers. Like the Himalayan, the GS has a maintenance period of 10,000 kilometers. So even though you're spending it every 10,000 kilometers.
Or once a year.
Or once a year. So you got to look at it from that point of view also. So
it's a balance.
It's a balance. It's a BMW. Trust me, if I see a BMW, the feel that I personally get is far more premium than if I see a KTM, because KTM's every second person owns it, right? So.
And what is your take on the X500 by Honda?
Oh,
and there are lots of customers playing with them.
Bye. Let's not go to the X500 first. Let's talk about the new X Pulse 4.
Oh yeah, how did we miss out? It's supposed to be brilliant.